What happens when you take your new truck and you take the bed off of it just to play with a little something and you find lots of rust? We end up with that. Watch the frame mods to get it back so it's structurally sound. We're back out in the shop. We got the truck inside here backed in, and I've been spending the last hour or so cutting the 8 bolts off of the frame that hold the bed on. So I got the fuel lines disconnected, but I'm going to pull it forward now, and we're going to try to rig this up on the lift to try to lift this bed off to fix some cross members on the frame. I'd like to get out the needle scaler, go through that, and try some evapor rust or something to help out the frame as much as we can moving forward, and then also try to fix a few of the issues on this bed that don't really have anything to do with us figuring out if we're going to narrow or widen it or change the sides, but more some underneath structure, and then also needle scale the bottom side of this. And the original factory paint or whatever is just peeling off the bottom like crazy, and obviously that's holding in a lot of moisture up against the metal, which just continues the frame. But then we can also clean up the back side or the front side of the bed that's up against the cab, and we can make that a lot nicer as well. So let's get the door open. We'll pull this thing forward and see if we can figure out how to rig up the lift. It runs so much better now with all the injectors hitting. Let's see if it goes up. There we go. Wow. It's up, and we didn't hit the bed or the cab. Take you along for the ride here. So probably not the greatest way to loop it back here, but we got it up. Are we all the way off? Oh, that one right there is still on just a touch. I know we got some wiring. Looks like we got some airbag stuff to still delete, so let's and I got some wiring to eliminate, so let's get after that stuff. I think I'm just going to cut the airbag lines, as much as I would love to just say leave them alone or keep them the way that they are. I think we're just going to cut them and we can replumb, because we don't know how old they are and stuff like that, so a little pressure off of it. I wish there was like a factory connector here, but there isn't. Maybe we'll go junkyard hopping and try to find the factory rear harness and cut it out and splice it back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the Ford side of all of these butt splices. Well, here, let me bring you over here. Okay, what I'm thinking here with this wiring is, this is obviously the Ford side, we got the Bradford side, and then just 7-way plug out the back. I'm gonna cut it all here on the Ford side, and we'll leave all of these wires on there, because that way we'll know what goes to what by following your own, you know, matching up the wire. Like if you know how that this wire is cut and it's a fresh cut, and it's the only one that looks like that, then that's the one that you can do. Like this one has a green stripe on it, so if we know that, you know, but these two are both black here, but if this one has a green stripe and then, oh, this one actually has a little red stripe in it, we'll know which one goes to which. So if you cut them on this side, you can kind of do the same thing, but if you have two colors the same, it's hard. And then if you don't need to, don't cut off the butt splice until you're ready to splice those two together, because you might have to start doing a lot of testing. Then another thing you can do, if you think a wire might be hot or whatever, and you're just going to leave it like that, don't cut it, but if you just kind of drag on it, it'll pull the sheathing just that little tiny bit, where if it just touches something, you know, it can't just touch a piece of metal on its own. It would have to, something would have to go inside of it. Or if it touches, you know, if it gets close to another wire, it's not going to just short out. Because this truck, I still have to move back outside. So now here's another thing, like this one's already short and we'll figure it out later. But if I cut it, because these are shrink seal glue ones, so if I cut it here, I'm going to know like, oh, the one that's cut in between the sheathing, obviously those go together later on. And if we look around under here, this is the reason why we're taking the bed off. That cross member is very not good, and there's another one up front that's very not good. So we're going to get to that. A friend of mine gave me an idea of, instead of trying to mount the spare tire up underneath here on a cable, or you know, the winch thing, possibly making a door back here from the back side and making a tray in here that you slide the spare tire in. And I'm kind of in love with that idea. We'll see if it's possible once I get some of this stuff out, but I do have to put a cross member back in here, but I can probably just put one up here to keep the frame from wiggling or whatever, for the support for the springs. We'll have to see if that, if anything is gonna be possible with the spare tire, or if it's just going to get mounted up underneath like it was. So, and we might do shocks, and that wheel, if you notice that that rim is wet and dirty, it must have a wheel seal leaking on it. So we'll have to get that taken care of, and I believe that's the parking brake that doesn't work anymore either. So double win on that side. Well, let's get this bed up and the truck out of here. And I'll show you how much worse it is under here than I ever thought it was. So we knew this one was bad. That's not, I mean, that sucks, but that's not a hard one to replace. I knew this one was bad, but I had no idea. I just saw it bad here. I actually put a strap on it to make sure that it was coming home okay. But I had no idea it was this bad. Well, that's probably not good for the fuel tank. Wow. So I didn't think we were going to drop this tank. Oh, I looped the hoses for the filler just through the strap that I have underneath there, just to make sure they were pointed down so nothing can get in them. But yeah, this is going to be I mean, I'm not worried about the frame. The frame is plenty strong, and it's just these cross members are really bad. And then crawling around underneath it, I also found that these U-joints are bad. There's that little bit of room, and then they're spinning. So I'm hoping that I can, if I just put in a new U-joint, that it'll tighten up. Otherwise, I gotta get a new yoke, which isn't the end of the world, but not something I really wanted to do. The muffler is kind of hanging in there, but that'll probably get deleted or changed out. And then, like I said, what I want to do here is, see how this is basically a tube here anyway? I just want to make that into square tubing. And if I can get the right measurement this way, I don't really care how low it goes, but just have it support the floor, go all the way up, weld it to the rocker panel, fix these inner supports, weld it to that. It'll be basically just like it was, but way stouter. Bring it all the way back to the back, put on new cab corners, and that should fix the major rot of the cab. You can see the airbags that they put into them. But yeah, we just got to knock these cross members out. I'm thinking we'll probably bolt or weld something in across the edges just to keep the frame at the exact right width so it doesn't spring either way. Just because, you know, it's all about the axles or the springs right now. It's the only thing really, if I took out those cross members, the only thing that would hold it straight. So we'll get that going. And then now we have the ability to clean this up. You can see these were the mounting tabs to the frame with the bolts that I used the plasma cutter for. This is a nice wiring harness that's factory Bradford that goes up and connects all this stuff, so that's kind of awesome. You can see the gooseneck ball in there. You can see over there, hopefully, there's a bent cross member. I don't know if they blew a tire or something, but I'm gonna bend that back and get it kind of where it's supposed to be. But yeah, we'll take the underside of this and give it the needle scaler and clean it all up best we can and coat it with some good stuff. It used to have a box like this over here. I didn't know that until I saw the strapping there. That's kind of like this one. That's broke. But unfortunately, this box is just way too rotten, so that's going to come off. Like I said before, I'd like to make a set of something similar to that. I kind of like this look of it filling in that in front of the tire. But yeah, that one's just rotten. This seems to be pretty good. Just some, you know, normal surface rust, and we'll get that all coated up with some good stuff. Oh, look at that. So these things are bolt-in, these little window headache racks. I don't know if I love them and I don't know if I hate them. But we'll have to see on how they're truly bolted in and how to get them off. Maybe we'll look at if it's possible to get them off while this is against the cab, or if we need to change some things around, but they're kind of cool. This doesn't have a sliding rear window, so really having the center one, they have it set up where you could put in another center one. So maybe I could try to find one to buy and put it in there, but it's nice not having that in there for the rear view mirror, but taking them out would be kind of nice for not having them there in the rear view mirror. And the stuff that I'm hauling, I'm not going crazy with that type of stuff, that I need a whole lot of window guards, but you never know. So yeah, that was pretty much the project for today. Update today. I was looking at the cross member trying to figure out what we wanted to brace it with and everything else, and I remembered that I had this old trailer hitch sitting around from, I have no idea, so we're going to use it up because otherwise it's just sitting around not doing anything anyway. But so the frame width in here is 34 inches. This is 34 inches, which is great. Unfortunately, if these tabs would have been bent in, I could have probably just drilled some holes and bolted it on. But since it's not, what I'm going to do is we're going to cut this out. We're going to cut the bolts out of these, or grind out these rivets on the spring hangers, and then we're going to cut these off, these tabs off on the top of this right here, and then this will slide into the frame, and then we'll just re-drill all of our holes and bolt it through with some good rated hardware, locking hardware and stuff like that. The pipe here for the cross member is going to stick out right here, and then the hitch will go, and I looked at everything, and from what I can tell, and I'll do a few more measurements right before the end, right before I do all of this, this is going to sit right behind the license plate of the flatbed. Maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't, but I mean, it's a super stout piece of metal that we can get into the frame. It's the exact right dimensions. We don't have to do any modification other than drilling some holes that will stiffen everything up here on a totally different level. And then we can get rid of some of this other stuff that's in here, because this is more than plenty stout to hold everything the way that we need to. So that's the plan with that. Okay, so these are like the cheapest sawhorses ever, but I'm hoping that it's enough to hold up this box so we can cut it off and not have it fall on the floor. Here we go. Aha! So yeah, come in and look at this. This is how rusty the top was, but look at all that stuff on there. Just nasty. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's that little pump back there, and there was a control gauge and stuff for the Firestone airbag system. But we might see if we can use this or not. I think it had this whole thing where as you went up, it would activate the compressor, and down it just let it out. So we'll see. But at least that's off. So now the bed is cleaned up, and like I said, these holes and stuff here are just horrible. So we got to replace the side rails of this stuff. But I can't remember if I said it before. I plan on taking some of the squares out of this that it's really good and strong, and making patch panels, because the exact same diamond plate and everything else for some of our holes that we have in the bed. Hopefully we can do that, figure out the exact pattern, set it on there, trace it out, weld it in, grind it, and maybe make it to the point that it doesn't look like that. And I found some pieces of angle iron that I had sitting around, plenty thick, that we're going to remake this cross member out of. So it'll be flipped over, but we'll drill it into these, bolt it in, and then we're going to run some extra supports down so it keeps the frame rails from twisting, just like this one was supposed to do before it was gone. But we need to drop the fuel tank, like I said, so we have to get it inside. We've ground off all of the these two rivets and these two rivets. I'm going to leave those two on for now, just to see if maybe we can clear them. Maybe we don't have to do anything. But these rivets were actually attached to this cross member. There still is one on the bottom, but we'll see how this goes. But I'm just going to use a punch, and now that they're ground smooth. So it didn't actually drive the rivets out. It just bent the metal in. I might get out the air hammer. Oh, so in actuality, this cross member did not use those rivets, but when I slide this in, that would bump out, and that's why I still want to get them out. And then not only that, but if we drill through these into this, I mean, we're just triple strong. So I'm going to get the air hammer, but you guys probably don't want to listen to that, and we'll drive those out, and then we'll start test fitting things and go from there. So the rains came, we got it inside, got the old bed out with the help of the skid loader. So I slid the hitch in. I did have to shave the insides of the two front rivets, so they're ready to be knocked out, but I haven't knocked them out yet because I'm going to drill these rear holes, get them set up, so that way when I do knock those out, it was all factory still before we knock them out. Granted, you're lining up holes, so it doesn't really matter, but it's a lot easier than having the whole thing drop right now. But it slides in there super nice and tight, but not to the point that obviously that cross member is still in there. It's not like bending these rails in or anything because it's so tight. So it fits exactly the way I'd like to see it. I ran it up all the way up until this tube hit the frame. So I know it's straight on both sides, it's nice and tight. So we are going to drill some holes. I do have transfer punches somewhere, but then I'd have to find them. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to use the 1/2-inch drill or find the right drill bit, maybe 7/16, drill in a little bit to make the mark in the center. Maybe even take a punch and punch it a little deeper. Then I'll use a smaller drill bit to punch it out, or to do a pilot hole. Then we'll go to the bigger one. I thought these were going to be 1/2 inch, but they must be 7/16. Let me grab a different bit. 7/16 is the winner. Like I said, all we're doing is we're going in, so just the tip of the drill bit is kind of making a mark in the metal for the actual trailer hitch here. And once we have a good mark, then it's a lot easier to know exactly where the center is. You're not guesstimating. Now technically I probably wouldn't have had to use the center punch. There was enough of a indentation made by the bigger drill bit to keep on going, but a little extra never hurts. And if you watch your chips, the way they're coming out of the holes or whatever, what your drill bit's doing, you don't need to wring the neck of your drill bits and spin them super fast. Sometimes faster isn't better. Kind of like on a chainsaw, you want to watch your wood chips. Watch your metal chips and how they're coming out. Dial yourself in for what's going to work out, you know, what's working the best. The other thing of it is you don't want a pilot drill too big. Technically, the end of a drill bit, where it's the crosswise, you just need a pilot hole that's just a little bit bigger than that. So, you know, this one's way bigger than what we really need, but 1/4 inch is usually a good one. But you don't want to, if you drill a pilot hole too big, sometimes the edge of the drill bit is all it's catching, and in my experience, when you're trying to drill out just a hole one size or just a couple of sizes, it tends to take its toll on the drill bit way more. And shout out to my high school shop teacher, Mr. Nelson, that one of the first things we did in metals class was learn how to sharpen drill bits. I've been using it ever since. So the upper hole, this upper pin or rivet, I did grind off the inside to clear everything, but you can see there's this factory recess and that hole is just right at the top. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the plasma cutter and cut somewhere around that circle, and we're just going to nut and bolt that back into place. It'll just be the frame. But these two, this one, this lower one, and then here's where the bed was bolted on, those will all get new hardware, new grade 8 bolts. that bolt everything in. This one is going to be a little weird. You notice it over there. You can kind of see through. We might end up drilling a new hole somewhere else on this one. Might drill it higher, lower, something, just so it's not lined up. Or maybe we'll actually come on the inside and drill through this into the outside. We'll see. It's not the end of the world, even if we take and we put a bigger washer on it, or I have these plates that came off the hitch originally. If we put one of those on the inside and bolted it through there, maybe even use some bigger hardware like this, I think it was 5/8, and did that, you know, we're never going to have an issue with it. So we got some options. Okay, so we got the fuel tank out, which is just getting the bands off, no big deal, taking off the top thing. I am going to do the hutch mod to the fuel tank where it stops putting the return fuel back at the pickup. Just because, you know, it's supposed to alleviate some air. I have the pickup out, so thought, well, what the heck, might as well do that. The hitch is all bolted in here. I think it's going to work fantastic. The biggest thing of it is there's one hole down here on this rear perch for 7/16 that is, the spring is kind of in the way to do it. So I needed to get some long drill bits, the jobber length drill bit. So I got these from Harbor Freight. Unfortunately, they don't really drill into metal good. So I got to figure out something better for that. The 7/16 might work, but I got to get the 1/4 inch wouldn't drill into that at all. So I do have to, and I cut, they originally came this long, and I cut them down just so I didn't have the thing out there wobbling. But we'll have to figure out if that's something that we can get figured out or not. Now it's just recreating this fuel tank cross-member support. It has some angles that come down to some of these rivets, so we're going to get it out of here and figure out. I'm going to try to take it out kind of more in one piece so we can copy the style of it. I mean, it's easy enough to make a cross-member. I got that heavy angle iron, no big deal. But it needs to cradle the top of the fuel tank because the strap that goes underneath pulls it up into the top, so it pulls it together and keeps it from swinging around. So that's the kind of the skinny on that, and figure out what we can do with that. So that's the next thing. I'll start just you know, same as everything else, grind off the rivets, or take the plasma cutter, trim them down a little bit so there's not as much grinding. I can kind of scour away at them with the plasma cutter, get them ready to knock off of there, and then we can get that cross member out and remake it. That'll be the once we get to the making of it, I'll get you guys back in here and show you what my ideas are for how we're going to do that, because this comes up above the frame level from here to here. So, you know, I had thought about, well, maybe I'll set it on top, and that'd be a lot easier to add the profile at the bottom, but maybe I'll just put it underneath and cut away at that a little bit. That material's definitely way more stout than anything I need. And then we'll just take a piece of flat plate steel in here to kind of contour the tank of where it needs to be, but this will be a good, still a good template, I think, for figuring out what everything needs to be. But like I said, that is the one reason why I want to try to take it out kind of more as one piece. Well, looks like it's in two pieces no matter what, but get it out more so I can lay it out and make sure that we're getting the correct profile on it. So that's pretty much all that's going to go this weekend. The day job will take over from here. I'm super happy with the trailer hitch cross member. It's not going to be necessarily used as a trailer hitch, but it's an option in there. That's the spice of life. So we will keep on going. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next week.